Hey, this is Hans from Request for Music, and I want to show you a new module, or actually, it's not really new because I've been working on that module for quite some time. It's actually sort of a mix of all kinds of ideas that I had, but it is called a GenSec or generative sequencer. And the generative sequencer is meant to create all kinds of sequences while you don't want to play them, but you want something in the background that looks or that sounds logical and it sounds usable. So GenSec is a module that can do that for you. If I look through all of the knobs and inputs and all that kind of stuff, as usual, all the inputs are on the top side, and on the outputs are on the bottom. So on the top I've got a clock and a reset input. Clock input if you want to clock it from the outside, and otherwise it uses an internal clock. Reset input and reset button that you can use to create a new sort of a pool of 64 notes that it can use within the sequence that it's going to work with. So every time I press that, it's going to recreate 64 steps, 64 pitches and that kind of stuff. And the rest of the knobs lets you work with that. Obviously, there's also a pause button, so you can stop the sequence halfway. And by using any of the modulations, you can also use a pause input or a pause modulation to stop that from any other module if you send a gate or something like that. Then if I look at all of these knobs here, the first one, the win, is actually the window, which means that it's going to select a couple of notes from that pool of 64 notes, and you decide how many notes it's going to use from that. It's going from one note up to 16 notes. And the next is the hold, or the cycle, the couple of cycles that you have done through this window. So if you have set it at 8 notes and you're using 4 or something like that, it's going to play that part 4 times before going to a next part within that pool. And how many steps from where you left off is decided by the shift knob that you have here. So that's a couple of steps that it goes further through this pool. The play button, or sorry, the play knob. The play knob is a global probability, how many steps will play within this. So that means that if I set it at lower than at a lower value than 100%, it will play less notes. The random is how is the percentage of notes that will take another pitch than the note that was actually in that pool. So you can change notes somehow that way. And the probability for this step is something that that looks at the notes as well, where you can actually do some extra randomization for using the step or not. The next couple of knobs, the range, the scale, and the root. The range gives you a setting for using 1 to 5 octaves that you can bring in. The scale is either off by using the 0 value, or otherwise go up, where you can go through all kinds of scales, like the major scale, the Ionian, and the Aeolian, and all that kind of scales. Then at some point we go over into the intervals, where you have sort of standard intervals like 1 to 5 is sus2, that kind of thing. And in the end it goes through some chords that you can set, like a minor seventh or that kind of thing. And the root is obviously the bass note that you're using for that scale and stuff like that. And in the end I have a BPM, so you can go from 20 up to 300 BPM. And the div, or the division, how many divisions there are. So you can sort of if it's set at 100 BPM, then you get the 8th notes, or the 16 notes, or 30-second notes, or that kind of stuff. And then there's a main mode switch, where you can go from a random setting or to the window and scaled and that kind of setting. And there's also a test mode. That's actually, it was just for testing purposes, but I actually left it in because that's plays all of the nodes in sequence. So instead of doing it fully random, it just takes the nodes from such a sequence, from such a scale and that kind of stuff, and just plays through it. So that was nice in the end as well. I already have some modules set up to have some basic sound. So I have a VCO with a sawtooth and a square wave switched on and it's connected to my VCF, and I have an ADSR which has the output for the envelope switched or connected to the VCF, and the output of the VCF goes into the echo, where the echo is connected to the main host. So that's it. So all I need to do is connect my gate from GenSec into the ADSR and connect my pitch into my external input from the VCO, and then if I switch off the pause, it should work. So this is it. So this is basically it, and let's first of all set it at random mode, so it takes whatever notes, and something like this. And if I go into the normal mode and I make sure that probably and random and that kind of stuff is off, I can actually, let's see how the level of this is. Okay. I could actually go into to these notes, set my play at 100% probability to 100%, so it will play all of the notes. And I could now go into my scales. Let's bring this back. So this is now at 0, 0 being not scaled whatsoever. So it's just going through all of those notes. And the window is going to decide how many of those notes are selected. And in hold, I can actually set it at 1, which means that it's going to repeat those 5 notes at this moment. So I could do that. If I have it set properly, I should set it properly at the 0 value. So it's sort of behaving like a sequencer where you don't decide which notes these are, but if I reset it, it might come up with another idea. And obviously I still have the range that I can work with, and I could use the scale. If I would just go into any other scale, it would try to play the notes from that scale. So that kind of stuff, really. And if I change the root, then obviously it changes to that root, and you could work with that. And there's a whole lot of scales in there. So if I want something with a major 7th scale, it's going to work with that. As I said, I also have a test mode. So if I switch this on, it's going through those notes of that scale and all of the notes from that scale that it has. So you can even use that as sort of a basic thing to work with. I don't do any transposing here. You do all of that stuff on your VCO yourself. So I could set this higher and do whatever with that I can. I will put up the module presets that I already created, and I've created a whole lot of presets in there that I could use and that I can work with, and that you can work with once you have it. So let's look for something like sort of a Tangerine Dream kind of thing. So it would be pretty easy to create some synth melody and chords over this. So as I said, it's just take something and and obviously it could be very sparse. So if I take something like this, there are very long notes. And in this case, the probability has been brought back, so it takes a while before it comes up with a new note. It will do that, of course, in the end, but the speed is low, division is low, so it will come up with notes, but it might take long. And otherwise, you can always reset if you wanted that, and it should come up with other notes as well. And there is a note indeed. So especially for all kinds of backgrounds, it's not something that you will want to use as a main lead or something, but like this, the pauses that it comes up with in between are created by the probability of either the play or the steps with the probability. So if I lower this, and the randomization that I use decides that some notes may be different. Let's change the division. And let's put the probability back. And as I said, the nice thing is that it just runs through all of that stuff. So if I would take the scale up, and this is a blues scale, it runs through that scale, it randomizes some notes if it wants to, it does that all that kind of stuff by using probabilities and all kinds of randomization. So if I want less notes, I could take this back. Or take the play back. And obviously, if I change the window, then it takes less notes from that pool. So if I want a longer one, just take the window all the way up and maybe change the hold. So there's a step where it doesn't do any holding. It's going random through all this and looks at the step and of course you could modulate stuff. So if I take an LFO, I could, for instance, modulate the root or something like that. Or maybe change the scale. Take the root C back. Or maybe, let's see, what can we do? Maybe change the step probability that will change, and instead we'll take just a normal scale. So the scale doesn't change, but the probability, so let's take the random out as well, but the probability of the notes will change based on the LFO. And I haven't tried that yet, but obviously I can take the pitch output and drive the timbre modulation of the filter with that. Could also use it to drive my pulse width modulation for this. Let's see what changing the speed does when I take the BPM. Well, anyway, that's. I'll pause it here. Anyway, this is the GenSec module that has had some work over the last months or so. So I hope you like it, and it will be in the store within a couple of days probably. And it obviously has a 5-day demo, and I'll also put all of those presets that I've created in the meantime. I'll put those in the Facebook group pages. So have fun with it, and hopefully see you in the next one. So cheers for now. Bye bye.